Hi guys, I'm back. So I wanted to mention something. I went ahead and I decided not to give you the measurements for the paper around the frame because you may use a different size frame. So I don't know why I didn't think of that, but I mean, like for instance, on one of mine, I have like a longer frame here. So if you see what I'm saying, it wouldn't make any sense to tell you measurements if you're going to use different frames. I don't even know if they still have these type of frames um, at Tuesday morning anymore. So, you know, you can just use whatever, or um, of course, you can make your own with your Cricut, or if you have a die cut. Okay, so now I'm going to start on the cover. I know that my pages are, as I said, 7.5 by 9. Okay, so I know that I want to give some space in between the top and the bottom. So I know I'm going to go ahead and go to 7.5. 9.5, excuse me. So I know that's centered. So I know lengthwise, I want it to be that way. And widthwise, I decided to go with, because again, I'm going to use the way I do my um, binding, I use an extra piece of chipboard. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. But so I'm going to put this to the side for the moment. So this is one of my favorite rulers, as I've said in one of my past videos. I'm going to press down on this because I want to make sure, because see how it's kind of like bending up? Sometimes chipboard will do that. Don't try to force it back the other way. It's just not a very good idea. But anyway, so this is my favorite kind of ruler because you can see on both sides. Okay, so like I said, lengthwise, I know that I want it at 9.5. So I'm going to start with my pencil, okay, and I'm going to mark it up at the top. So when I'm putting it on my cutting board, it will be exactly where it needs to be. And I will just continue bringing it down and putting my little dots down so that I know where to cut it at exactly. This is the best method I've found yet, where I will make it where it, excuse me, not where I make it, but where it makes it very even. So that way, when you're cutting it, you don't have to worry about it. So we said 8 inches. And I don't trust my cutting board. This is why I do these little dots to keep it aligned. Because if you don't, they slip sometimes, and then your chipboard will be crooked. So you definitely do not want that. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut. Sorry, I've got to stretch my little thingy out here. So now I know that they are all lined up and I can cut. And if it ever rips, which mine did just a little bit because I didn't like press down hard enough, you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and cut off my other side. And so now I know that this is perfectly straight. I don't have to worry about it being crooked. As you can see, it looks straight on here, and it looks straight on here. I mean, at least it's very, very close. So then you're going to do that with your other piece. So this will be your front and back. Okay, so I'm going to do that and then I will be back. Right now, I don't know the measurements of my binding piece, but I will figure that out in just a moment and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm praying I do this right the first time. But so for me, I can see the way my paper is folding and the way it's laying, and I know that seems strange, but it's kind of going down in an angled manner. And so I'm going to go with that, but I'm going to turn it sideways real quick because I want to do my measurements. So I know that this is 9 inches, right? But I want to go a 1/8 of an inch in. So we're going to do, this is for our actual binding piece. We're going to go in at 8 7/8 inch, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Okay. Make sure this is on here, right? 8 7/8. Wow. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it. Okay. I'm going to save that strip for a belly bean. Okay, so then I know this much, okay? What I usually do, I usually leave about an inch. Sorry, I can't see what I'm doing. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to go about an inch, okay? And this is actually going to be my fold over part, okay? Because this is going to go over my chipboard. And I know it may not seem like it makes sense right now, but it will. Okay. Then I know I usually leave from the beginning of my book, I usually leave a 1/2 inch space. Okay. Okay. So when you open your book, this is what you're going to see. You're going to have a 1/2 inch gap. And then you actually start at your page. So I always do a 1/2 inch in between. So I'm going to go at 2, 2 1/2. So we know, and it's okay to use a pencil right here because you're going to cover this up anyway, that is page 1. Then you're going to have a gap. Okay. And then you're going to go 3 1/2 and 4. So every 1/2 inch. Now I know this is page 2. I'm going to leave another 1/2 inch gap. Then I'm going to go to 5, 5 1/2. So I know that is now page 3. A 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and a 1/2 inch. That is page 4. Okay. Then 1/2 inch gap, 8 and 8 1/2. Okay, this is page 5, and that's how many pages I have for my book. Then I'm going to leave another 1/2 inch gap. And then I'm going to leave a whole inch. Okay. And then I'm going to cut that excess off. Okay. Okay, so I'm actually going to lay it down again, and because we know I like to, make sure my folding edges are able to do that. So I'm going to go at my 2 inch and my 3 1/2. Okay, and then my 5, and then my 6.5, and then my 8. Okay. Now, I like to go ahead and pre-fold mine so that I know where to put my tape. So I'm going to go on my 1, I'm going to fold on my 2, and then 3, and so forth, okay? Okay, so now all my edges are burnished that I'm going to do for my paper, and then I'm going to get my score tape out, and I'm going to put my score tape on each one where my pages are, okay? And then I leave the 1/2 inch without any tape at the moment. You will tape it later when you're actually getting ready to put it on a piece of chipboard. So let me do that real quick and then I'll be right back. Hey guys, I'm back. Okay, so now we have our actual binding piece, and then I have a piece of chipboard that I'm going to wrap it around, and then that I will attach to my actual binding, you know, my spine. Okay, so this piece of chipboard is 3 inches, 3 inches by, it should be 8 7/8. Okay, so now I can go ahead and take my score tape, and this time you're going to want to, you know, score it pretty good. Okay, and so, I mean, put the tape on there pretty good, not score it. My score tape on there pretty good. That's what I'm trying to say. I apologize. I'm a little bit out of it. I had to go to the dentist today, so, oh my goodness, I had to have a root canal. Tell you what, don't ever have thyroid disease because it ruins your teeth. Anyway, now we are just going to put this all, I'm going to put it like real close together on the entire piece because I don't want to have any gaps. Gaps lead it to lifting, and I have learned to go ahead and not be stingy with this part. Okay. If you have your 1/2 inch, you know, that will work even more perfectly. But I'm going to go ahead and use this since I've got it out and opened. Okay. And then for this, and I am going to cut off the edges on this. I'm going to burnish my edges first before I do that with my rolling folder. Don't worry, I'm going to get this last piece, but I'm going to use a 1/8 inch, and I'm going to do this off screen again because I don't want the tape sticking to my desk. And get the other side. Oh yay, today it's not sticking to my hands. Okay, so then I'm actually going to peel this one back because I do not mind that. And I'm going to use my 1/8 inch for that one little space right there. Okay. Okay. Burnish that edge in there. I'm going to go ahead and do this one more time. Get it all in there. And then I can go ahead and start peeling back all of this. I'm going to push back anything that is hanging over. And if you have any weird stuff that got onto your thing, get it off. Okay. So now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and lay this on top. You know what? I don't trust myself. I'm going to go ahead and lay this flat. And then I'm going to line it up and press down. Okay. And make sure you burnish that in there. Go ahead, flip it over. Burnish it all in. Make sure it's in there really good. Try not to cut into the paper with your bone folder. I have this pointed one, which can do that sometimes. I actually got this bone folder from, I think it was Dick Blick. Something like that. Yeah, I know. It's like an art store. Anyway, I really love their bone folders because they're like old school. They're not real bone, but they work really good. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my score tape along here. On the other side, same thing. Okay, then you're going to burnish it in really good again. And you can cut off your excess before you do that. I mean, that's up to you. I always kind of do mine afterwards in case some of it stretches out, then I don't have to do it twice. Okay. Then you're going to remove that tape. And then you're just going to fold it over onto the back here. Just like so. Okay. And burnish it in again. Okay, make sure you burnish your side too. Get that in there. Same thing back here. I can tell you, if your tape lifts up off the paper, then you did not burnish your edges in. And I've had that happen before, so it'll give you a good warning that you didn't burnish your edges very good. Okay. And again, on my sides. Don't be like too hard on this because you don't want to bend your stuff. So now, and then this is another thing I like to do. I like to make sure that my edges, you know, fold over really nicely. So I kind of get them prepared before I attach the pages, because it's much easier to get these loose than waiting until after you put it on, and then sometimes your pages will be stiff and won't want to turn nicely. So that's just a, you know, good little tip for that. Okay, so I'll be back in just a second. I'm going to get the measurements. Actually, I already know the measurements. I'm not lying to you. Okay, so for so you have these, right? And then you're going to need your back piece here. That piece is going to be another chipboard at the measurements of 3 1/4 by 9 1/2. Okay. this is going to be shorter than that, and that is okay because your pages are also shorter. So your pages need to be the same measure, your little binding piece right here needs to be the same measurements as your pages. Otherwise, it'll look really awkward and you'll have stuff hanging out at the edges. So anyway, I will be back in just a minute because I'm going to cut that real quick, and then I'm going to get out 2 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock. And I like to use a base cardstock first, which will be the craft paper. So if you want to get those out, you can grab that real quick before I come back. Okay, so I'm back. I have my 2 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock, and I'm going to go to the 11-inch line, and then I'm going to cut that off because I want about a 3/4 of an inch fold over, and I'm going to do the same thing on my second piece. Go ahead and score that so I know that they are the same size. Okay. Get out my scoreboard and cut that. Now I'm going to go ahead and line mine up together because I want them to be exactly the same size, and I don't want any errors. So that's why I'm putting them together. Normally I would not cut them at the same time, but because I want them to be exactly the same when I lay them on top of each other to tape it together, that's why I'm doing that. So this is another point where your 1/2-inch score tape will come in handy. I'm going to go ahead and actually I have a 3. Oh no, I did have a 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm going to get my 1/2 inch out. I probably should have got it out earlier, but whatever. It's out now. That's what matters. So I'm going to put this down here on just one end, and then I'm going to put these two together. Try to get as close to that edge because you're going to be folding this over, so you want to make sure you don't have any gaps. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and lift this up, and one more time I'm going to make sure that I'm at that edge, just because I don't want any lifting at all once I fold it. Burnishing my edges really good. At this point, you can cut off your excess. And I'm going to find my edge that I cut. And I'm going to pull this out a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit off camera. I apologize. But I want to make sure that I have this lined up perfectly, or it will make me crazy. Roll up any of your stuff that's hanging over. Do that now. Actually, I need to get it over just a little bit more. And then burnishing your edges on both sides just to make sure it's in there really good. It's really interesting. This cardstock looks like it's different color. Oh, I know what I did wrong. That's okay. I'm going to be covering this up anyway. Okay. So now at this point, you can go ahead and get your chipboard prepared. Okay. Oops. Now, if you can tell, kind of, this chipboard is bending up a little bit, okay? Now, don't worry about that because with the bending part side up, I want to, that's how I'm going to lay it down on the paper with the bending part side up. And I'm going to make sure that all of them are like that, okay? And now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and do all my chipboard with my score tape. I'm going to cut off, the hangovers, and then I'll be back in a minute where we can lay it down. But in the meantime, that would take up like 10 minutes of me covering it up with tape. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I decided to put a piece of washi tape here to see if that helps from preventing me from scratching my desk here. Okay, so I get out my scoreboard, okay, and I am going to, actually, I'm going to add a little bit more tape. I apologize. I should just notice on my little marks here that I have on here already, then I would know where I leave marks. Okay. So either that or I need to put some cushioning on the back of my scoreboard, my score pal. So I think I'll probably do that. Okay. So now I have my pieces ready, okay, and I know that I want to leave about 3/4 of an inch in space between, well, I know I want to definitely do an inch here. So I'm going to go ahead and score an inch. Okay. And I've already burnished my tape in here really good. And I'm not worried about the hangovers this time. And the reason why that is because I'm going to be folding my paper on top of this anyway. So to me, it just kind of makes a little bit of a, tape over here at the edge for it to grab onto and stick even more to. So I don't mind that idea. My goodness, it is 2 o'clock and I'm looking at my time thinking, okay, I gotta hurry because I gotta go pick up the little stink butts at 2:45. I always call them stink butts. I love my babies. They're so sweet. Today they have a friend coming over. So that'll keep my daughter entertained for a while. Keep her out of my hair and I can finish this up. Woohoo! Because I've had so many delays with doctor's appointments and stuff trying to finish this. It's driving me cray-cray. Okay, so I'm going to leave about 3/4 of an inch space between here and here. And I'm just, pretty much guesstimating because I don't want to turn my paper to lay this down. I'm taking it right up to the edge here where I made my score mark so I know that it's straight. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my scoreboard real quick so that I can go ahead and burnish in my edges. Make sure it's on there really good. Okay. Okay. Now I can go ahead and, now Tamara taught me this. So I'm going to go ahead, I know this is kind of an odd position, but I'm going to go ahead and fold over my edge. I'm not going to tape it or anything, but I'm just going to get it ready for me. Okay. Surprise, surprise. Okay. And that is the reason why I'm doing that, so that I can have more room on my scoreboard. Okay. So then at this point, you're going to take either your 1/4 inch, or you can use 1/8. Okay. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch, and Tamara taught me this. You just put it right up to the edge of this last chipboard you just put down. And that is going to be your space that you're going to have in between Now, I normally do 1/8 an inch, but I'm going to try this 1/4 inch and see if I like it. So, I don't know if this is the time to do that, but hey, why not? Okay. Okay, so then I'm going to grab my centerpiece. Where did it go? What? That's crazy. Oh my goodness. Oh, there it is. Ha! I'm blind. I apologize. Okay. Again, I've already burnished in my edges, so I am ready to go. I'm going to stand up so that I can see what I'm doing because I want to make sure, apologize if I'm making racket, but I want to make sure, I'm actually going to do it on this side. I want to make sure that it's really lined up. Actually, I'm going to, yeah. I normally do 1/8 an inch, so this is new for me. I'm afraid it's going to stick to this. And it will, I'm sure. Maybe if I don't put it down too tight. I like to use my ruler. Hopefully it's not going to stick. To make sure I'm putting this on straight is what I like to do. And it is sticking, but it's not that bad. It could be worse. Okay, so then again, I can burnish my edges. This time it's smaller, so I don't have to. Okay. Then you're going to go ahead and do your 1/4 inch again. I'm going to move this, keep moving this right along. Oh, and as a matter of fact, I do this. I already go ahead and fold it over to get it prepared for me, okay? I already do that because, you know, I really like to be able to have everything movable, and I don't want to have any surprises afterwards. So again, I'm going to line this up, burnish it in, and lift it. Okay. I know I'm making all sorts of racket, right? Okay. I've already burnished in my edges on this one too. So here we go. You're like, stop saying that, Kim, please. All right, let me get all my tape off. Okay, keep moving along here. Okay. Yeah, I know. Me and my dang. Okay, so now I'm going to line it up again. And it's just feels like it's off a little bit, but I guess it's not. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, flip it over. Burnish my edges real good. fold it over so I can get it ready. There we go. Okay. Now I see that I have some hangover here. So I'm going to leave an inch left on. Let me move my scoreboard here out of the way and get rid of this leftover stuff here. And I want about an inch left on here. So that looks about right. It's kind of hard to tell. Okay. Yep, it is. Okay. Now, you can go ahead and you can kind of see on this side too. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this is folded over on this edge. Start getting everything ready before I lay my tape down so that it's really easy to do when and it's just ready to go. I don't even have to worry about it. You can stand it up and then rock it over. So you can see what I'm kind of doing here. And then okay, same thing on this side. I can see that I didn't leave a whole lot left here, which I should have done a little bit more. Apparently I left more down at the bottom, so it's probably good to make a measurement, you know, of a little line so you know where to begin, but it still works. Now, I have this little tool that I use so that I know exactly how to do my edges, okay? This is called the Perfect Trim Ruler, and it is from perfecttrim.com. We use this in college. I took 2 bookbinding classes, and this was one of our favorite things to use so that we could get that perfect amount of edging left over. I got some stringies up here. Okay, so I just kind of measure my corner here and I make my mark. Now, if you've watched my other tutorial, you probably know this already, but in case you haven't, this is for those that have not watched any of my tutorials. I pretty much show the same thing. I may just, you know, make one binding tutorial so that, which basically that's what this is, so that I don't have to keep doing them over and over again. I can just give you the measurements. Okay. Now you're going to get out your score tape again. Okay, and where did it go? Oh, I already put it back in the pile. That's why. I'm going to get out my 1/2 inch again. Just, I really like to use the 1/2 inch for binding. I really do. It makes it so much easier. So I'm going to do one here on the actual chipboard. Okay. And basically you're going to do that all the way around. Make sure it goes right up to the edge. Even if it hangs over, that's okay. At this point, that's okay if it hangs over. The only edge you don't want to hang over is this edge. Okay, so I'm going to burnish these edges in because I don't want to forget. Because you know I'm ADD. I'll forget. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on my edge here. Make sure you're going pretty much right up to the edge there. Okay. So I'm going to do all of these edges and then I'll be right back.